Overcoming the fear of cold calling is like mastering fear itself. We have to face the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, and a lot of self-doubt. And I genuinely believe that if you can master the fear of cold calling, it means so much more than just being able to pick up the phone and sell to people. It'll make you a better business owner, a better communicator, and just a stronger, more resilient person. Now, I'm not gonna bore you with why I'm credible about this subject. I've made tens of thousands of cold calls over the past few years, and off the back of those calls, I've closed well over 5 million in revenue. But believe me and trust me when I say this, I used to be terrified of picking up the phone. Now, one of my companies is called the Affluent Academy, and we help agency owners scale their businesses using sales systems like cold calls, among a bunch of other things. And at the start of this year, we launched an outreach competition, a leaderboard for people submitting the amount of leads that they're outreaching to on a daily basis. And they break this down into the amount of cold calls they're making, the amount of emails, and the amount of direct messages on social media. And I want to show you that live data right now. This is the February's data. This is 13th, so we're halfway through the month, and you can see that we have 32 people, 32 agencies that submitted their data. And I want to show you the direct correlation between the amount of meetings that are being set, the amount of sales opportunities, and the amount of cold calls that are being made. And this is relevant for any industry, not just agency owners. Anybody that is selling business to business, this is relevant to you, okay? So right at the top of this list, because all the people that are making cold calls are the guys that are getting the most meetings. Someone here made 46 cold calls and got 7 meetings. Sure, they made 35 DMs as well, but it's definitely coming from the cold calls. Compare that to this person here who's done 0 cold calls, 200 DMs, and 500 emails, okay? So vastly more leads that are actually being reached out to here, but only 2 meetings, so significantly less meetings. And this is proof that cold calls will get you the majority of your meetings, and it's simple. It is so much more personal when we call someone up. We have to go through so much more effort to actually call someone up and speak to them, and people recognize that, and they're more likely to say yes to having a meeting with us. I literally posted a video, the last video I uploaded, where I made 16 cold calls on behalf of another business, and I generated 2 meetings from that. Okay, no answer.
Which hair transplant clinics do you work for, and what made you choose HQ?
What time on Tuesday would be good for you? And I can send you a invite, and then
Something mid-mornings, probably the safest.
Okay. I would have had to make hundreds of emails or sent hundreds of DMs for me to get the same amount of meetings. And the reason why we're actually doing this competition, the reason why we've got this leaderboard right now, because I wanted to see how many people were actually cold calling, and I wanted to see and prove the data between meetings set and cold calls made. And so when I saw that so many of these people are still not making cold calls and they're struggling with the fear of actually getting on the phone, I created a video to help them overcome that fear, an internal training, and I want to show that video to you guys right now. Now, first of all, like before I had my agency, I was in a cold calling job, right? A couple of years before, and I was making 100 cold calls every single day. Right? Every single day I was making 100 cold calls. You can go on my LinkedIn, you can see my job history. And to me, when I first started that, I was absolutely terrified. I was useless at sales. I had never even had a sales job before. I'd done a bit of PR for nightclub events when I was at uni. But for me, like I needed to get over that fear very, very quickly because I was in a lot of debt. So I was making, Jordan, 100 cold calls a day, right? But the only reason I was able to do that is because I was backed in a corner. Okay, I had no other choice because I was in debt. Okay, it was like 8 grand, but I knew that the only way I was going to get myself out of that debt that I was ashamed of was learning this skill, which is cold calling. I just got kicked out of university. The only thing that was going to get me out of that position was learning this skill and being able to get good at it, good enough for me to make sales, make commission, get myself out of debt. So I was backed into a corner. I didn't want to make cold calls. I couldn't think of anything worse than making cold calls. It terrified the shit out of me. I used to walk to the end of the office trembling in fear with the script in my hand, but I was backed in a corner and I had no other choice. And the problem that I think many people are encountering right now within their agency is you're not backed into a corner enough. And that doesn't mean you have to get yourself in debt, or that doesn't mean that you have to force yourself into a bad financial position. But what it does mean is you need to get familiar with being uncomfortable in your life. Most people aren't backed into a corner. Okay? Because if you were backed into a corner, you would do everything in your power to make your agency successful right now. And so make a habit. In fact, I'm going to get rid of this. Make a daily habit of being uncomfortable. Okay? My New Year's resolution, my only New Year's resolution in 2023 was I want to be as uncomfortable as possible as many times as I can this year. If it scares the shit out of me, I want to do it. Because through that fear is
massive exponential growth. Everything you've ever wanted is on the outside of your comfort zone. I've forgotten who said that quote, but like, it's stuck with me for my whole life. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of your comfort zone. And it is so, so true. Comfortable people do not get the fruits. Comfortable people do not end up successful. If they're lucky, maybe. But it's people that are conditioned to be uncomfortable that get the fruits of their labor. So make a daily habit of being uncomfortable, okay? Take cold showers or cold plunges. I'm thinking, well, how the hell does this relate to cold calling, right? It's just that active choice every day of doing something which makes you uncomfortable. Work out. Whatever this may be, okay? Face your fears. Whatever fears you have. The basic to me is like cold showers, cold plunges. Because psychologically, every single morning, I'm used to it now. I've been doing it for like 3 months. But every single time that you have to do it, you know that it's going to be uncomfortable and you know it's going to be really, really shit. But you still do it anyway because you know at the end of it, the endorphins are going to be incredible. And it's the exact same with cold calling. Every single time you could jump into a cold calling session, you're not going to want to do it. You're not going to want to pick up the phone and be told no more times than you're going to be told yes. But the more you do it, like the more times you have these cold showers, these cold plunges, the more you force yourself into that uncomfortable position, the more comfortable you are going to get with being uncomfortable. And at the end of calling 20 people, the end of calling 30 people, you're going to have meetings. That's going to make you very happy because that's going to be an opportunity for you to sell and grow your agency. So let's tackle the fear of cold calling a few other ways. So what other reasons why won't people be picking up the phone right now? So fear of failure. Okay. Not being backed into a corner. Okay. Be uncomfortable. Fear of failure. So if you've got the fear of failure and this is what most people will have when you're on cold calls. And there's one thing that I always say about the fear of failure is you have to write down all of the things that actually could go wrong. Write down all of the things that could go wrong and what the result of those things going wrong is. Let's understand that. Let's break that down. If you're on a cold call and someone says no, facing a no, what's the actual result of that? So I generated a lead. I called them up. I said, can you handle more customers right now? Follow the pitch, follow the script, follow the methods in the academy. And they say no to me. I hang up the phone. What have I actually lost? What has that failure created for me? Right, let's think about that. Ego, pride, they're the only things. And they're things that you control completely by your mentality. They're things that you don't have to be bound by. They're things that actually mean nothing. Because if you can control that mentality, you control that ego, then who gives a fuck? Right? So facing a no, like, there's nothing to lose from that and everything to gain. Because when somebody says no to you, when somebody rejects you, when you've said something that for whatever reason someone says no, and sometimes you will just see people say no to you and there's nothing you can do about it. But most of the time, there's something to learn from it. Maybe there's a little word that you said that didn't sit right. Maybe your offer wasn't good. Maybe the times you suggested, whatever it is, there's a lesson to be taken from that. And at the very least, it'll toughen you up. It'll thicken up your skin, which is what you need. It'll create you resilience. And resilience is the single most important trait for any business owner right now. Because there are so many weak people in the world. I'm going to get real with you guys. There are so many weak people in the world. And weak people do not get success. You have to be strong and resilient and be able to face no's. And so understand that the very first step of fear of failure is that you have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain by picking up the phone. You have nothing to lose apart from a little bit of wasted time from generating that lead. There is no such thing as burning leads. It does not exist. There is an infinite amount of leads out there in the world for you to reach out to in your agency. Realize that no mean nothing. You have nothing to lose. Okay? This is really, really important. I think just people genuinely are just afraid of rejection. And I think that as human beings, our whole lives, we are conditioned to move towards warmth and love and acceptance. Whereas business and outreach is the antichrist of that. It's not acceptance. It's not love. It's dog eat dog. It's competition. It's go get your shit and make it happen or somebody else will. And so we need to, again, condition ourselves of being uncomfortable, receiving them no's and understand that this isn't going to be just this la-di-da, airy-fairy, yes, come get a meeting, here's my money, thank you, goodbye. It's gonna be quite brutal, but it also is, it just doesn't matter, guys. Like it just doesn't matter getting no's. So welcome those no's. Welcome no's. They're a learning experience. Okay. welcome rejection. It'll toughen you up. What other reasons? What other reasons would people not actually be cold calling right now? Okay, I hate this excuse. Niche related issues. Ecom. Okay. First of all, if you're a new start agency owner, if you're going for ecom, your growth trend, the amount of effort that you're going to have to put in versus the output that you're going to get in your business is just going to be incomparable to a local lead generation agency. The only way to start an agency right now and actually be successful and actually scale up to 10K a month and do that within a reasonable time frame, 3 to 6 months, is through starting a local lead gen agency. So do not start an agency and start off with ecom. Just do not do it. Because if you've got an ecom agency, you need to reach out to 100 companies every single day to get any kind of results. If you've got a local lead gen agency, you can get away with 10 to 20 companies every single day. If you're cold calling, then 10 to 20. If you're emailing, DMing, you might need to do more than that. If you want to scale to 10K a month within 3 months, you need to be cold calling 20 companies every single day. The other issue is international companies. If you're based in London in the UK, don't be outreaching companies in the US because your lowest hanging fruit is your locality. It's being local to other people and that having something in common with those people. Because what you have to realize is if you reach out to someone in the US, they know nothing about you. They got nothing in common with you. You're not even from their nation, right? And so you're fighting this uphill battle. And why would you want to do that when you're first starting a business? You want to create the path of least resistance every single time. So you need to be starting local. Okay? It's not an excuse. It's just stupidity if you're not doing this. So start with local business, always start lead gen. Okay? I'm going to go through a few other little bits, just excuses. Not having a dialer. Okay? Use your mobile. That's what I used when I first started out. Use justcool.io. Use Zoom calls. Okay? This is actually like a dialer, not like a video call. Okay? And so let's just go through a few. Just want to finish off by this. Just want to reiterate this to you guys. Let's start off with the negatives to not cold calling. The negatives to not cold calling are low conversion rates on outreach, never getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. In fact, let's not make this the negatives because the pros are going to be the same thing on the other side, aren't they? So pros. At least 3 times more effective. At least. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. This one is actually so important. Cold calls act as practice for your meetings. If you're completely new to sales and you are not cold calling and you're hiding behind emails and you're hiding behind DMs, then the time that you get or when you actually get to have a meeting with a business owner, you're gonna be facing this learning curve that people that cold call did not have to face at all because they've already gone through that learning curve by doing the cold calls. When you get on your first meeting, you're gonna be trembling with fear. When you get on your first meeting, you're gonna be scared. When you get on your first meeting, you're gonna stumble over your words. You're not gonna understand your script. You're not gonna understand. You're just not going to do well. Statistically, the majority of you, if you have not cold called. If you're the type of person that's already gonna smash your first ever meeting, then you should be cold calling right now already. But the majority of people, it's an uncomfortable position to be in a sales environment. And I get that because I've been there and I understand it. And I've seen so many people and I've helped so many people be successful with their agencies. But a cold call acts as this training exercise for getting on a meeting with business owners. A cold call acts as the opportunity for us to face rejection, for us to face no's, for us to fire back on objection handling. When somebody says no to us, we know the words to say already because we've practiced them and we've faced those same objections on a cold call already. And so this is so important because it's going to take you 3 times more emails, DMs, and so on to get a meeting than it is cold calls. But then it's going to take you, I don't even know, unquantifiable amount more meetings to actually sign up a client because you haven't got the practice that you would have got by communicating with people by doing cold calls. This is so important. There's a few other things I just want to actually add to this. So we've got the fear of the failure. We've got self-doubt. And it's normally because you're underprepared. Okay? So be prepared. Learn your script. Change the tonality. Print off your objection handling. This is all for you. Got this all in the course, all literally the exact words that you can say. Okay. And if for whatever reason, you think that you don't have every objection that you need covering in that PDF document, which you do, and you think to yourself, well, what about if they say this? What about if they say this? What about if they say that? An exercise that we always used to follow in sales training was we write down my trainer used to say to me, Jordan, okay, if you worried about getting told this, because I used to say to him all the time, I'd be like, Craig, like, what about if they say this to me? What about if they say that to me? It'd be, Jordan, you're pissing me off. Like, just write down what you think they could say to you and then write an answer for it next to it. If you think that they might say X, then write down what you would say to them. Oh, I need to ask my wife. Okay, so how can I tackle that? How can I overcome that? How can I handle that on the spot? We've already got that covered. Obviously, you say, well, what is it you need to ask your wife? Is there something you need to ask your wife that you can't ask me right now? Or do you just need permission? Dig into it.
Okay, back in the room. So watching that back, there's one major thing that I missed out, and that is your environment. It's very important that we have a very comfortable and quiet environment when we're cold calling. We're not sat in a room with our partner worried about them judging our words or our children walking into the office and distracting us. We want to make sure that it's as zen-like as possible. We also want the ability to stand up at our workstation if possible, okay? Or just at the very least stand up away from your desk and be expressive with your voice and with your arms and body language. We don't want to be sat down and be enclosed because it's going to come across in our tonality. And we want a very clean desk setup with no clutter. In fact, let me show you guys my setup I'm using at the moment. I'm in Cape Town right now, and this is my temporary desk setup in the Airbnb spare bedroom. Got a sit-stand desk, ergonomic chair, and we're gonna have a view of the mountain. So this is a Frisker sit-stand desk. I'm gonna put a link in the description for this, because these are literally the best sit-stand desks on the market, just by pure build quality, design options. I've got so many different design variables, and also these lovely cable trays, these management trays which keep all your cables in one place. Just has one cable that comes out, so from an OCD perspective, they are perfect. You've also got cable management at the back there. You've got all your normal controls here, pretty standard stuff, but I've also got a mobile app so you can control it up and down and presets from the actual app. It also will track how much time you're spending standing up. I've got a ViaSet ergonomic chair. We spend a lot of time sitting down. It's important we have lumbar support. And then if you are, from a cold calling perspective, if you're cold calling, you want to make sure you've got two screens. So normally I have two monitors, but when I'm kind of away, I can use my MacBook and a temporary screen. This is an espresso touchscreen, right? And it all folds up. I don't use a touchscreen, but I just use it for display. And so you'd have leads on the right-hand side or either way. And then you'd have your scripts and objection handling on the left-hand side. Of course, you're not gonna read off your script, but you're gonna wanna have it as a prompt in case you screw up and stumble over your words. If you want me to break down my script, by the way, let me know and I'll make a video about it in the future. Another bit of tech that I've got this year is a Remarkable. So this is a digital notepad, get rid of paper. It's just a really nice way to get all your notes down, to-do lists, so on. If you're on the phone, you wanna make sure you're writing down things that people are saying. You always wanna keep notes. If you've got a meeting set, you wanna make sure you're writing that down as well and you don't actually lose that. So always have a notepad at the very least next to you. It doesn't have to be a digital one. So yeah, this is the temporary setup, but I've got a very, very similar setup at home. If you want more sales training videos in the future, you want me to break down the script, the lead generation process, or even just entirely different methods altogether, let me know. And just remember that the fear of cold calling is a choice. Okay, master the fear and you will be an infinitely better business owner. Cool, see you soon. Cheers.